everybody, this is Lindsay from windingroadcrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this very easy tri-fold bag. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. So for this bag, we are going to need roughly about 10 ounces of yarn. We're going to be using a size I crochet hook. That is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. And we'll need a yarn needle and scissors. So to get started, we are going to make a slip knot and put it on our hook, and we're going to chain. So here we're going to chain a total of 53, but as I'll show you, the stitch numbers, the row numbers aren't as important as getting the right proportions, which I will show you a little bit later. So you do have a lot of flexibility with this pattern. So here I have 53, and I am going to put my hook into the second chain from the hook because we are going to be doing something called a linked double crochet. So go into the second chain from the hook, pull up a loop. Then we're going to go into the third chain from the hook. This time I'm going into the back bump, which is optional, and I'm going to pull up another loop. All right, 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that is our very first linked double crochet. To make our next double crochet, we're going to go down through this middle bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. This is what's going to link us to the previous stitch. Now we're going to go into the next chain. Again, I'm going into the back bumps, pull up a loop, and then just finish making your double crochet. And we're going to do this in every chain all the way across. So let's do that one more time. We're going to go into this middle bar. We're going to yarn over and pull up our first loop. So this is replacing your typical yarn over. We're going to go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and continue doing the linked double crochet in every chain across. So now that we've reached the end of the row, we are simply going to repeat this row. So let's do this again. We're going to chain 2. We're going to link ourselves to the turning chain. So we're going to go into the second chain from the hook and pull up a loop. Then we'll go into the next stitch and we'll pull up another loop. Now complete it like a double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're back to our simple linked double crochet. Go into that middle bar, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, through that middle bar, pull up a loop, into the next stitch, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you'll just continue making linked double crochet until you reach the end of the row. So now I'm at the end of row 2, or getting to the end of the row 2. I'm making my last linked double crochet. There is how it is looking. As you can see, we have no gaps in between our stitches, which is what we're looking for. Now you're going to continue to repeat row 2 until you have about 31 rows. So here I've worked 31 rows, and as I told you, proportions are more important than how many rows you have. What we want before we change colors is to have a perfect square. So I'm folding my piece up to check to make sure that it is a perfect square, which I'm happy with how it is. So now I'm going to change to gray, change my colors, continue working rows until I have double the rows that I have in the gold. So I'm just going to finish my last row of gold here. When I have just 2 loops left on my hook, I'm going to yarn over with my gray and pull that through. That's how we're changing colors. From here we will chain up 2, turn our work, and continue doing the linked double crochet stitch. Now you want to do double the number of rows you did in gold. For me, I work until I have 93 total rows, but again, the important part is that the width of our project is 1/3 the length of our finished project. So keep looking for that proportion. If you need to get a ruler to measure it, you can definitely measure it out. That completely works. So continue working rows in gray or your other second color until you have a total of about 93 rows or till you reach those proportions. So just so you have a very clear understanding of what I'm asking, here is another diagram kind of showing you what we're wanting to achieve. This is a smaller sample you'll see us fold up later, but again, we want that width to be 1/3 of our length. That is what you're aiming for. So here you can see I finished my 93 rows, and I just want to check to make sure that it is the right dimensions. The way I'm doing that is folding up my yellow section and then folding it again, and just making sure that the gray is exactly double the length of the yellow section. Now we're going to do something that is completely optional. I'm going to put a single crochet border around my project. So just going back into where we finished off, I am going to chain 1, and then I'm going to begin working single crochets down the edge of this row. Now I will tell you that a linked double crochet is a little shorter than a double crochet. So for a double crochet, I would normally work 2 single crochet into each stitch. What I found kind of worked for this was that I worked 2 double crochet into the side of each linked double crochet for maybe 3 or 4 rows, and then I would only work 1 single crochet into like the 5th row. I just found that if I did 2 in every row, the edges were a little bit wider. So the stitch count is not important here. Just kind of work single crochets evenly along all the edges if you want. It's not super important. It's just something I like to do to make sewing easier later. As you can see, I did decide to change colors once I reached the yellow section. And then when you get to your corner, I am just going to chain 2. That is going to get me around the corner. Once I get done with this stitch, I'm just going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then I'm going to begin working into the opposite side of our starting chain. And in that case, I just work 1 single crochet into the opposite side of each chain. That adds up pretty well. And then you'll just do this till you reach the other corner, chain 2 again, and then work down the sides of the rows again. And if you want, I do have another video for this that you can check out as well. That will teach you exactly how to work a single crochet border around a project. Once I've reached the complete end of this project, we are going to chain 2 again to finish up our last corner and slip stitch to the very first single crochet. From here you can fasten off and weave all your ends in, and we'll be ready to fold our rectangle into a modern looking tote bag. But if you are choosing to line this, then I highly recommend you line it right now as it's a rectangle. It is very, very easy to do, and I do have a video on how to line a blanket. And since this is a rectangle, it's basically a blanket, so the same process works just fine for that. I'm going to line this and then I'll get back to show you how to fold. So here you can see I used a blue fabric to line the inside of my tote bag. It worked up really, really well. I just used a sewing machine and it was actually really, really fast. So now I'm going to show you on this very small piece, because my other piece is way too big to show you how to fold. I'm going to show you on this smaller piece how to fold this into a bag. So what we're going to do, as you know, this is 3 times the length as the width, and that is very important when it comes to folding. We will be folding this top yellow corner down across this blue line. So I'll just take this corner and fold it down. It's almost again like we're checking that it is a perfect square. Now we're going to do the same thing to the opposite corner, but in the opposite direction. So we're going to take the bottom gray corner and we're going to fold it up just along that blue line. And then the last fold is going to be right down on a diagonal right in the middle. So all of these squares that we've had have been folded on a diagonal. So we're just going to fold this up so that it lines up with the other charcoal color here and it comes across the front. Now if you just turn your work a little bit, and there you can see your bag has been formed. Now we're just going to sew a seam right up here where these two pieces join, and then if you carefully flip it over, you'll be able to sew pretty much the exact same seam on the opposite side. So go ahead and sew those up, and then we will make a handle for this and we'll be all done. So here is my larger bag, and you can see I have just sewn the seam here. You can use a whip stitch, you can use a blanket stitch. I used a blanket stitch, also known as an invisible stitch. I have a video for how to do that as well. Doesn't as beautifully visible for this one, but it works. So now we're going to go ahead and make a strap. Now if you'd made this bag a little bit larger, we would actually just connect the two here. But since I made this bag a little bit smaller than it's usually made, I'm going to go ahead and make a strap for this bag, just a small one right along the top. To make a strap, we're going to use the same hook and the same gray yarn. And then for our strap, we are going to chain 27. So it's going to be a very small strap, but it's going to be enough just to reach across our shoulder because the points of our bag is actually acting as part of the strap. So once you finish your 27 chain, we're just going to go into the second chain from the hook, go into the third chain and pull up a loop, just like we've been doing. Yarn over and pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and continue working the linked double crochet in every chain along the chain we've made until you reach the end of the row. When you reach the very end of the row, you're going to chain two, work a linked double crochet, linking yourself to the turning chain, go into the next stitch, complete your double crochet, and continue working the linked double crochet in every stitch along this row as well. Once you reach the end of row 2, you are done with your strap. You can go ahead and fasten off, leaving yourself a pretty decent length of yarn because we are going to use this to sew our strap onto our bag. And to be honest, it would have been smart of me to leave a long beginning yarn because I could have used that as well, but you know, things happen, so I will just get a new strand of yarn to work with for that. And I'll have another end weave in, no big deal. So I'm just going to thread that yarn end onto a needle, grab one of the points, this is the yellow one, and I'm going to just tuck it right under that yellow point. And then I'm going to use what they call a running stitch, so it's just an in and out stitch, to sew along the yellow point, not along the square rectangle strap, but to sew along the yellow point and sew this in place. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it up and over the point, down the other side, and then I'm going to turn around and come back the other way, and that's just going to better secure everything in place. I also like doing it this way because then I can typically knot my beginning and ending threads together just to make sure that they're really secure before I weave in my ends. So I'm just finishing up coming back the other way so this strap is really secure. I'll weave in this end and then I will sew on the other side of the strap exactly the same way. Just be really careful to make sure you don't twist the strap. So once you've done that, your bag is completely finished. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I really hope you enjoy your trifold bag. And as always, thank you so much for watching.